So, Jake, how you feeling? We're in Chicago.
I feel wonderful. Anytime I'm in Chicago, I'm doing good.
Man, can't beat it. Especially big event, tons of wrestling fans. And as we all know, Jake, if you're following Jake on social media, he is on the road as busy as ever. It's just like the old days, right?
Running hard. Just don't put me up wet, you know. But it's what I do. I mean, I love being around wrestling fans. You know, they give me a charge. They remind me who I was and what I meant to be. And for me to come back to Chicago when there's so many memories. I wrestled Andre here. Got my ass whipped. I wrestled Earthquake here. Got my ass whipped. Wait, we're starting to get a string here. Wait a minute.
Starting to notice a trend.
Yeah, I did wrestle Rick Rude here, and my wife slapped the piss out of him. That was a favorite moment of mine. But enough about me. What about you guys?
Yeah, we're ready to take questions whenever you guys are ready to step up. But in the meantime, Jake, while we're talking about traveling, you know, it's everybody loves a good travel story. I know that wrestling fans are always asking them. Certainly, I see it on social media all the time. I gotta ask, man, give us one of your best road stories.
Okay. You guys remember Hacksaw? Yeah? Okay. Hacksaw and I were riding through New York, and this was after he got in trouble with the Iron Sheik. And he's driving the car, and I noticed that he's accelerating. You know, 70, 80, 90, 100. I'm like, dude, what the F are you doing? He says, it's not me. I'm like, what do you mean it's not you? He goes, look in the floorboard. So I look, and holy shit, the snake had gotten out the back seat and come underneath his seat, and it wrapped around the brake and the gas pedal. And when Hacksaw would move his feet, the snake would rear up and open his mouth like he was going to bite. So he couldn't put his foot down there and stop him. So this went on for a couple of minutes, and finally Hacksaw just yelled and put his foot down, and then he shot himself into the back seat, leaving me in the front seat with the car going 100 miles an hour. So I grabbed the wheel and steered it down, and we finally got to a stop. Well, now we're pissed off. It was this damn snake. So we get out of the car and we fight this snake for 3 or 4 minutes, man, trying to get him out from underneath the seat. He wouldn't let go. He wouldn't let go. He's trying to bite us. It was hell. Well, finally, we got him put back in the bag. We threw the bag in the back seat. We hopped in the car and we took off. A couple of minutes later, a highway patrolman pulled us over. So we got out of the car, and the policeman says, all I want to know is, do you have a 40-foot anaconda in your car? No, it's not 40 foot, but there is one about 15 feet. He's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And what had happened, we didn't even know it. When we jumped out of the car to wrestle that snake, we were right in front of a restaurant. So everybody that was inside the restaurant are watching me and Hacksaw fight this snake in the middle of the highway and then throw it back in the car.
A couple enormous guys out there wrestling with a snake while they're out there trying to eat.
So that was some good excitement.
Now, you mentioned the Sheik, too, and I know that you had to do a little traveling with him.
Yeah.
God rest his soul.
I got one for you.
Oh, please.
The Iron Sheik, you know, he had a language barrier. You know, he'd say some words that mean something to him that wasn't exactly what you meant. And we're driving down the road one night, and I said something, and he's like, oh, that's it, you motherfucker. Pull the fucking car over. I'm going to teach you some respect. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, pull the car over. I want to teach you some respect. So, holy shit, okay, I pull over. Get out of the car, we're going to fight. So as soon as he got out of the car, I just gassed it, took off and left his dumb ass. I seen him the next day. I didn't even pick him up. I seen him the next day, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to fight him. But he walked up to me and goes, "Oh, Snake Man, you know, perfect thing to do to Sheik, baby."
Good Lord. Well, look, I know that you've got an Andre the Giant Road story, too. You and I talked about it once before. But before we get there, where's the microphone out there? Does anybody have any questions? Here we go. We got the man over there.
Yeah, let's get some questions going.
Yeah,
I'm tired of
please, guys.
talking about what I know.
Who's got questions for Jake? Let's see a show of hands. Here we go.
Hi, I would just like to know, who are some of your favorite current wrestlers to watch?
Well, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, Darby. I just keep watching Darby to know. I want to see it when he dies, because he's going to kill himself. There's no doubt. He's definitely going to kill himself in some of the crazy shit that he does. But I want to be there when it happens.
Who else has got one? Let's see.
Plus, my favorite is Lance Archer.
Gotta be.
The Murder Hawk Monster is a fucking monster, man. Jesus Christ. I would love to see him and Wardlow go at it.
Oh, could you imagine?
What was your favorite WWF match you did?
Probably my favorite moment, it wasn't a match, but my favorite moment of all time was when the snake bit Macho Man. I still love that moment. That's still my favorite moment of all time. When that snake bit him, I just jumped up inside for joy, almost peed myself.
Now, if I remember right, Jake, there was a little weird incident conversation between you and Savage backstage.
Oh yeah, that jerk. He came to me and he goes, "So we're gonna do it tonight. The snake's gonna get the Macho Man." I'm like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Maybe it is and maybe it isn't." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Are you sure that snake's been fixed?" "Yeah, he's been fixed. No venom sacs." "Maybe it has and maybe it hasn't." So I'll tell you what you're going to have to do before we go to the ring. You're going to have to let that snake bite you first. In the locker room. I'm like, "Oh, hell no, man." He's like, "You let it, we're going to fight." All right. So I pulled up my pants leg and got the Cobra out and shook it at him a couple of times, and he bit my leg. And after he let go of my leg, Macho Man's like, "Don't move, don't take no elixirs, don't take no anti-venoms, don't do this, don't do that, don't take no pills." I'm like, "Dude, you are a freak." So during the match, whenever it's time for the snake to bite him, I turned my back to Macho Man so he wouldn't see what I did. And I just took the snake and I just slapped the piss out of that snake, man. And man, as soon as I slapped him, he's ready to go, man. He's ready to bite the shit out of Macho. And he bit him really good, man, and he held on. He wouldn't let go. I grabbed a hold of the snake and I'm pulling on it, back and forth, wouldn't let go. So finally I had to spread his jaws with my hands. But it's still my favorite moment in time.
What's Savage doing as you're pulling on the snake?
"Get that motherfucker off of me."
Show of hands. Who else has got a question for Jake? There we go.
Yeah, Jake, first of all, it's an honor to talk to you. Thanks for all the entertainment you provided as I was growing up.
Appreciate it.
You mentioned Lance Archer, and I agree. The guy's a unique talent. And the pairing of you two, I think, is perfect. But why do you think we're not seeing him on AEW TV as much as I think we should be?
Well, he's doing a lot in Japan right now. You know, he's got a good deal going over there, and you know, you just don't toss anybody in the ring with him because it's not a fair fight. You know, and I mean, hell, we watched him with Orange Cassidy, and Orange Cassidy spent the whole match running from him, trying to keep away from him. He wouldn't even get in there and go with it. But I think in the future you're going to see more of him because there's just no holding the guy back. How can you hold that monster back? You can't. He's such an unbelievable athlete. He's got everything. I mean, everything. He scares the piss out of me sometimes.
Now, during that match with Orange Cassidy, at one point, you and Cassidy were on the outside, and you had him hooked for the DDT.
Yeah.
And Lance stopped you.
It pissed him off. The last thing he said he wanted was for me to be the reason that he won the match. And I understand that, but shit, I get bored outside the ring, you know? And when Cassidy came up and started doing that shit where he kicks you in the knees and shit, I just wanted to paintbrush the piss out of him, you know?
You know, that actually reminds me, we got another person with a question, but we had somebody backstage actually ask, you know, Orange Cassidy, it's comedy and wrestling, and I think that there's a place and a time for it. Jake, what's your opinion when it comes to comedy and pro wrestling?
I think there's some funny stuff that happens, but if you're going out to the ring for the sole purpose of making the people laugh, then keep your ass in the back. We're not here to see comedy. If you want to see comedy, turn on Friends or something. You know what I mean? We came to watch wrestling, and I just don't have a place for it, really.
I don't seem to remember a lot of slapstick stuff out of you.
No, I never did slapstick, man. I mean, there was some funny stuff that happened, you know, when Rude got slapped by my wife. That was funny. I was just glad it wasn't me.
What did Rude have to say to you after that slap?
He said she hits harder than I do. That sucked.
All right, we got a guy with a question over here.
Oh, so my question is, because we don't really hear a lot about it, what were your thoughts about the feud with Sting at Halloween Havoc? You saw the videos and everything, and then you had the spin the wheel, coal miner's love.
Right.
What was the aftermath of all that? Could you talk to the story leading into that? 'Cause we don't really hear much about it.
You know, that was probably the worst friggin' idea they could have came up with on spin the wheel, make a deal, you know? A coal miner's glove match. Woo, boy, that scares the piss out of me, you know? And I didn't like it at all. And wrestling Sting was a pleasure, but the company at that time, they did not want us to wrestle again. And I think the reason is that maybe I was overshadowing him a bit too much, or maybe he was overshadowing. I don't know. I don't know what their damn reason was. I just know that they wasted a lot.
Was that spin the wheel thing gimmicked, or was it just land on whatever it lands on?
It landed on whatever it landed on. It. Christ, I mean, you know, they're like, we don't want to gimmick the wheel. Give it a break, my God. This is pro wrestling. Fuck. You know? Did I say fuck?
Oh yeah, you're allowed to say
I'm sorry.
fuck.
Fuck,
Say
I
it
didn't
right
mean
now.
to do that.
I think we're allowed. I asked the guy backstage about
Shit.
nudity. He was like, maybe not. We'll see where we get by the end of the show.
Okay.
Another question?
Okay, so my question is, it's one question, two parts. Is it true that The Undertaker came to you and asked where all the good strip clubs are, and what is your craziest Undertaker story?
Yes, he did. And at that time, I told him he should probably go back to playing basketball because if he traveled with me, I'd kill him. And I damn near did. You know, it's a chemical world, and I cheated, okay? There are some drugs you can take that allow you to drink more, and that's what I was doing at the time. So Undertaker's trying to keep up with me, and I'm taking these things that make me able to drink more and more, and he's over there. Finally, we went to television one time, and Vince told Undertaker he didn't need any more makeup for his eyes, that I just about had him dead anyway.
I know that you mentioned before that you wish you would have had a longer run with Undertaker.
Oh, yeah,
in a tag team,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, as a tag partner, I think we could have done a lot of good stuff. But the bottom line is there was nobody who could touch us. I mean, you think back about it. Who's gonna get in the ring with us and think you have a half chance to beat us? Wasn't happening.
It was such a short window of time too that you were tag teaming with him. It was
Yeah.
very brief. And man, I think there was still a lot of meat left on the bone.
There was a lot of meat left on the bone, but sometimes you got to walk away from it because it's not helping the company. We overshadowed everybody else by so much.
Another question, who's next?
Yeah, thank you. This is an honor. One of the things that got me really excited about like your matches is the promos you hit just before you hit the ring.
Right.
And it's like almost like a lost art these days.
Yeah.
Who would you have as your Mount Rushmore of like best talkers, best promo guys?
Oh my God, I'd never thought of that.
Well, you're top of the list,
Well, no doubt.
of course. Oli? Is Oli up there for you?
Quit smoking dope, man. No, Ole's not up there. I think Flair could have been up there a little bit. Other than that, man, I don't know, man. That's for you guys to judge, not me.
Got to be Roddy Piper up there.
Oh yeah,
right?
Piper's up there. He's a distant second.
Who's next?
Hi there. You had two moves, main moves. You did like the sword arm clothesline.
Right?
Where did you get that from? Because I've never really seen anyone do that before.
No, that's something I invented. Short arm clothesline plus the DDT I invented, and it worked really well. The short arm clothesline was a great setup, and it told the people what was coming next. And that's what built the fire underneath the thing, man. And then, of course, once I hooked it and I give you the wrap up, that was it. And it's a damn shame it's not used properly today, but oh well, that's their loss, not mine.
It's still used properly today. I saw you hit Ethan Page with it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
Who's up next?
Sorry, I just have one more question. You of all people, I really never expected to see become a manager. You were always such an imposing
Right.
wrestler. So can you give a little background as to how it came about that you became
Sure,
a
be
manager?
glad to. It's just the truth. I had a real drug problem, an alcohol problem, and that cut my career short. And 20 years later, AEW calls me and asks me to do a little thing where I'm shuffling cards and dealing out cards and stuff, and they liked it. Well, at the time, Cody Rhodes was here, and they wanted to do something with him and Archer. So they said, would you manage Archer for 5 weeks? Okay. Well, at the end of that 5 weeks, they liked it so much, they said, let's just keep this thing going, man, because it's a good marriage, and I'm really grateful. For me to get back in the ring after 20 years was the highlight of my life, because I'd made those mistakes and I'd paid the price. I paid the price, man. Dealing with addiction is a monster nobody wants. Let me tell you. But I went through it and I came out the other side, and I'm sure God had a hand in it and said, why don't we give Jake a second chance or whatever. And they put me out there, and unfortunately, I was still able to talk and still able to do some good interviews. Thank you.
While we're doing some applause, how about a quick round of applause for Diamond Dallas Page,
Yeah,
the resurrection of Jake the Snake.
yeah.
God bless that man.
You know, I just want to say real quick that addiction isn't something anybody wants. It just happens. You know, I've been to jail and I've been to rehabs, and in both places, nobody ever came to me and said, you know what, Jake, when I was a young kid growing up, my dream was to become a drug addict and alcoholic. You know, nobody dreams of that, but it does happen. And I just want to say that without Diamond Dallas Page, I wouldn't be here today. I've been dead years ago. You know, 'cause I was close. I was real close whenever he reached out to me. And now I try to help others get off of their addictions. And I just want to tell you guys that if you know somebody that's struggling with addiction, don't turn your back on them, man. They deserve a second chance, or a third chance, or a fourth chance, whatever it takes. But know that you can beat it. It can be done. You don't have to go that way. That's that.
Who's up next?
Hey Jake, thanks for taking my question. Just a quick question for you. You're a great mind in wrestling and also great promo. Do you emphasize that on some of the talents when they come up to you during, or you're coaching or talking to any of the guys, like to slow down because the business seems to be moving at a lot faster pace in the ring and then with everything?
I do. I preach to them a lot, man. And, you know, it's a different style today. The guys are different sizes today. But still, you need to have that up and down roller coaster ride in the match instead of just going 100 miles an hour straight forward ahead. Because us as fans don't get a chance to enjoy what's going on. It's going so fast you can't keep up with it. And that's not what it's about. You know, what wrestling is about entertaining the people that are watching you. And it goes for the interviews too. Take the time to come up with a good interview. Just don't go out there and yell and scream and do all that, because nobody's buying that bullshit. You know? And I do, you know, AEW has me coaching these guys. And I enjoy coaching them. I enjoy helping them. And that's what I'm here for.
Next question.
Hey, Jake. I just had a question, and I think this is kind of maybe an obvious question that I've never heard you answer before, and maybe somebody else here has, but how did you come up with the Jake the Snake gimmick itself? What made you say, hey, my name's Jake, it rhymes with snake, I'm going to carry a snake down to the ring with me? Was it that simple, or
no, it
what got
wasn't,
you into that?
It happened on a road trip, and I was smoking marijuana and drinking beer, and I was listening to Monday Night Football, and they were talking about a quarterback named Kenny Stabler. He was left-handed. He was a wild man. He was a party and SOB. He got in trouble all the damn time, but he was a great quarterback. And I wanted to be Kenny Stabler of wrestling. And they called him the Snake. So basically, that's what happened. You know, what rhymes with snake? Well, Jake does. So Jake the Snake. And my last name, how did I come up with it? Well, at the time, there was a TV program called Dallas. Do you guys remember that? Any of you? Who was the bad guy on Dallas? JR. Jake Roberts. See, I'm not just a pretty face and a short penis. I got some good shit going, man. I mean, a pretty penis and a short face. That's what I meant.
It's one of those.
Damn.
Next question.
Hi, Jake. Just wanted to ask about your time in Mid-South and with Bill Watts. That was the wrestling as a very little kid growing up in New Orleans that hooked me as a fan. So just your thoughts on that.
Mid-South, without a doubt, was the best wrestling show going. You know, it was done real well, and you always had great matches. You always had great wrestlers. I learned so much in Mid-South. So much. So many other guys did too. A lot of superstars came out of there, whether it was me or Ted DiBiase or Kamala or Paul Orndorff, or the list goes on and on, the Rock and Roll Express. All these guys came out of Mid-South, man. And some of my best times and best matches were in Mid-South, whether it be against Dick Slater or whoever. It didn't matter, man. They were just all great contests. But I loved Mid-South. But I hated that damn Bill Watts. Boy, I hated that son of a bitch.
So we've got time for one more question. Jake's got to catch a flight, so who's it going to be?
Hey, Jake.
Hey.
Can we get a story about Terry Funk?
Oh, man. It's a little too soon to talk about Terry, brother. I'm still hurting. Still hurting a lot on. There's a guy up here that's got a question for us.
Yeah, we'll try one more.
I'm sorry. Right now, Terry, I just can't.
It's a little fresh.
Hi, Jake.
Hi.
So, I'm looking to get into the wrestling business in some shape or form. And the one thing that you're always known for is your psychology. So, what would be the one bit of advice you would give somebody looking to get into the wrestling business about psychology?
Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to find a good school. The second thing you need to do is make sure that you're in your top physical condition. And as far as the psychology of it, you're just going to have to watch a lot of matches and figure it out. Because it's not just a situation where you load the gun and pull the trigger. That's not what it's about, Psychology takes time to develop. It really does. You guys, I want to thank you for having me out here today. You've been awesome. Hell, you even made him look decent, And
that takes some work.
That takes a lot of work.
Guys, thank you so much. And by the way, the Snake Pit, our podcast, comes out every Tuesday, 6 a.m., YouTube, and on every podcast platform. And by the way, you can get it early and ad-free exclusively on adfreeshows.com. So if you're not subscribed there and you're a wrestling fan, you're missing out. Jake does some exclusive content there as well. So please go out of your way to check it out. And guys, we want to thank you again. Thank you so much for coming out.
Get ready for my book to come out, too.